Good morning and welcome to another episode of RoadFS Mafia Memoirs this week. I'm Jody.
And I'm Rod.
And we are the premier software company for detailers on the market. And I'm telling you, we are just having a good time. Looking forward to Mobile Tech Expo. Hard to believe that we're only a week away. And so we had to squeeze in
one last Mafia Memoirs before we go. As always, you know, Mafia Memoirs is sponsored by RoadFS, and this year coming soon, some other sponsors. I'm not going to tell you who it is right now, but we actually are getting some sponsors coming online that are helping us out. We're doing a lot more stuff for the IDA, so just keep tuned. Go to YouTube and subscribe to our YouTube channel because there is a ton of new stuff coming on, new content with product reviews, product demos. We're going to be jumping all over the place, going live to people's shops, showing a bunch of stuff. A lot of it surrounding training and development within the industry. So
yeah, it's going to be a busy 2020. And well, like I said, we will be there. We're actually traveling there early to see some of our customers. And we will have Education Day, which I will talk about at the end of this Facebook Live. But without further ado, we do want to get to our guest, Mr. Chris Lee with McMinnville Auto Detail. Good morning. How are you today?
Good morning, guys. How are you?
Oh man,
doing well.
It's great. Except it's January and it's
45
overcast
degrees.
and cold.
It's 45 degrees. We can't complain at all.
So yeah. So
in no time we'll be complaining it's too hot. So
yeah, exactly.
I never complain about it being
too
hot.
He's insane. He's like some freaky lizard.
I'm like that lizard, man. Give me the heat, baby.
So tell us about where you're at, and you know.
How did you get started in auto detailing?
So I've been in the auto detail industry for about 19 years. I actually, in high school, I worked at a grocery store in Southwest Washington. And I remember my boss asking me to wash his truck. So I had no idea what I was doing. Grabbed a big jug of Dawn dish soap right off the store shelf and grabbed a white terry cloth and just started scrubbing that truck down and vacuumed it and did the best I could, and he was happy with it, didn't think anything about it. Graduated high school in Southwest Washington, moved down here, worked in a lumber company for about a year. Realized pretty quick that I don't really play nice with a boss. Don't like being told what to do. I'm a little OCD, so I always kept my books by size on the shelf, kept everything nice and organized. My vacuum lines and the carpets had to be nice. And so I realized I should probably get into something that has to do with cleaning. So I went to Walmart, bought a bunch of products off the shelf, loaded up. I bought a flatbed little trailer, built some sides on it, and just started going around town and asking people, can I do anything to your guys' vehicles? Well, long story short, I'm in McMinnville, Oregon now. Been detailing in this town for about 15 years or so. I have a brand new shop. I have a 2,000 square foot building that was opened June 1st.
Wow.
Got a nice office, got a waiting room. I've got full-time employees. Last year, we went and I personally went and got trained and certified with Rennie and Diane up in Big Bear.
So who was the bigger taskmaster, Rennie or Diane?
Here, I'm gonna guess.
Look at him cringe. He's afraid to say it.
Let me see if I get this right. If you lean on the car, Diane is gonna slap you silly, and Diane is way better at interiors than Rennie. But Rennie stands in the background at attention watching what you do, and he is Rennie's I find that Rennie is very good at directing you in the correct direction, right? If you're doing something wrong, he's very good at telling you what you're doing wrong. So
yes, and it's an interesting experience when you've been detailing as long as I have to go. It's kind of humbling to go somewhere and have people tell you what you're doing is maybe not as efficient, or maybe is flat out wrong, or here's a better way to do it. It takes a lot for me that first day. And I knew Rennie pretty good before that, but you know, when somebody gets in your face and tells you, hey, this is what you should be doing, this is what you're doing wrong, this is how you should do it, after you've been doing it successfully for almost 2 decades, that's a little bit humbling. But when Diane tells you, you say, okay, no problem, you're right.
What was that internal battle like?
I benefited greatly from the business aspect. I can detail, and I can brag a little bit. I'm confident enough. I can detail a car physically with the best of them and know that my customer, no matter who my customer is going to be 100% happy the first time. The skills I have down. The business aspect, no, I have no idea what I was doing. So kind of backtrack, I ended up detailing out of my garage for 8 years. I did 1 car a day. I was only charging $250. I worked from 7 in the morning to 3 in the afternoon. Then I'd go sit in downtown McMinnville on a sunny day and drink a beer and people watch the rest of the day. Life was great. I had lights on the walls, soundproof room with air compressor. Well, the city finally said no more of that. So I had to make a decision. Do I want to keep detailing cars, or do I want to maybe move to Central Oregon where it's sunny 300 days a year and work for somebody else? The opportunity came for this building. I took about 10 days. We went on vacation, turned the phone off, and just soul searched if this is what I want to do. Do I want to jump into this, or do I want to back out and just collect a paycheck? So I kept him on, and ultimately I made the decision to jump into the shop and go all out and pursue this. But now I have employees because my body is getting a little tired, and I have some young people that have the initiative and want to learn. So I train them. But to go back to your question, it was very hard to sit for 5 days and take notes. But what I walked away with after going to Rennie's and Diane is priceless. The business aspect, I didn't use social media. I didn't care about marketing or advertising because word of mouth was working perfect for me. And Chris Woolman has been a huge help inside the Mafia group. He's just been every time. I'm so computer illiterate. Well, you guys know it took me a while to.
No, you did great, actually.
But he's been very helpful. Just being in the group and the network. Those people are like family. There's no dumb questions. There's nothing that you can say that's going to offend anybody, other than the usual stuff. But you can go in there and nobody's going to judge you, and it's been amazing. And guys like you make it just one notch higher.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of, I would mirror that, just my interaction with the detailers in the network. And we're a little weird. We know we're weird. So going into it, we know that, people, generally the question they ask every software company, what makes you different than the others? We're like, well, we actually work on cars, not professionally, but I have. And I got the opportunity to be the IDA Spotlight certified detailer this month. And if you read that thing, it's like, what the hell? This guy started working on cars in 1986, and now he's a software guy?
What happened?
How did that work? So even when I went into that, and it was a very similar, there's a lot of stuff that I've done that skills like the Rodnecks, they restore cars. Shane Mayfield, Sean Sepulveda, Finer Details, those guys, they work on some of these old classics. And it's a different animal. I mean, as you know, the paints that are coming out of 1964, 1957, that's a completely different animal. And so when I went to that, I was same thing. We had the opportunity at one time. I told Jody, we were sitting there at the RoadFS training center, and staring over the top of me are like 5 of the premier detailers in the world. And they're telling me what I'm doing wrong. And I was like, okay, no problem. I got, okay.
Right.
Because it is very, it is humbling. It's hard to do that, but it's also very humbling to have someone else tell you need to put a little bit less pressure, a little bit more pressure, and just kind of understand where you need to improve a little bit, especially for somebody like me that doesn't do it every day. We do it, on the side and,
Right.
do it on our own stuff.
And it's easy to not, I was old school. So I was against the whole flex, RoadFS. I liked my DeWalt. I used it forever. I got it to where it's great.
Yeah,
I was hand
Little wax on,
the
wax
pad's
off.
this big. It doesn't wobble all over, just straight on. You put pressure on it, you're
That's
burning
right.
through that fast.
Yeah, Miyagi-san, I got it.
Yeah. So
But if you don't know any different, it was, it's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard to do change.
And
I knew what my. Go ahead.
now, if you get the results out of that, that's what you get the results out of. And if you go to, today, I don't know what the percentage is, but if you go to a body shop, a real true paint and body shop, it's a big old DeWalt.
Yeah.
That's what they use to cut that with, man. It's on its edge, and they're going to town. And there's guys that have been doing it for longer than forever and a day, and they get the result out of it that they want on that first cut.
Right. So it's kind of a funny story how I even got involved with the group. If you have a minute, it's me and my wife we've been married 15 years. Well, we go to Bend 4 or 5 times a year. It's on our bucket list to move there. And we stayed just outside of town. Well, on the way going into Bend, our sunroof blew out in our Honda Pilot from the inside out.
Ooh.
Which is the strangest thing. I don't know if it was, I don't know. I can't figure out how it happened. There's no overpasses. The elevation gains 4,000 feet, but there's a million other cars that drive it. Anyway, so I called the detail shop there and said, hey, Perfection Plus Auto Detail. I said, hey, I blew out my sunroof in my car. Is there a chance I can have you throw a vacuum in it real quick so we can finish the weekend, throw some plastic on it, and I can get back to the Portland area? Yeah, no problem. So I go in there and, hi, my name's Shane Mayfield. And so I met him. He took the car back there. We were talking about our detail shops, and he's like, well, what kind of ceramic coating do you use? And I'm like, I don't do ceramic coatings. I just do, because I was still in my garage. And so he's, he told me later, he's like, oh, this guy's pretty hokey, out of the times, blah, blah, blah. And he took care of my car, didn't charge me. And we built a good relationship from that point. I got his number. We talked. I actually went back and called him a year later and said, hey, this was during the time I spent that week deciding if this is what I want to do. I said, hey, would you hire me? If we moved out there, would you hire me? He goes, on the spot. You have a job. No problem. Here's the catch. Just like everybody, you're going to get 5 days paid vacation. That's it. Well, I take 8 to 10 weeks off a year, and I still do. That's my one benefit, I guess, of being the business owner. And I was like, I love you, buddy, but I just can't do it. So we ended up staying, but he's the one that got me out of his own time. He spent calling me, texting me, helping me improve, making me a better detailer, getting me into the IDA. MTE last year, he introduced me to Rennie. Rennie said, man, I talked to him for a half hour. He looked at my website. We hung out. He said, I'm skipping the bypass. Just call my wife. Here's her number right now. Let's get you in. Let's get you signed up. We're going to rock and roll. And sure enough, I went up there January of last year. And I went to MTE, went to SEMA. I've gone to every Mafia event that we've had since then. Mm-hmm. I talk to Rennie on a regular basis. I'm on all the webinars with them. And that group has, it's changed my business life, and the friends that I've built is phenomenal. We ended up doing Glassparency. We're in with Transparent now. And it's good. I've got all the certifications and everything up on the wall.
Nice.
Which to most people, they look at it and they're like, ooh, that's amazing. But it's when you charge a certain amount of money and people are like, oh, the guy down the street is quite a bit less. You can explain, hey, this is why. We are trained by the detailers of Air Force One. We're using chemicals that are safe for you. We're not using Armor All. We're not, I pay my employees a livable wage. We're not, no cash under the table. No, if you leave money or jewelry in your car, you don't have to worry. And those things are the things that I've learned from guys like you and people in the network, and just have, people can be your mentor without even knowing it.
The thing that I like about that story is that Shane Mayfield, a member of the Detail Mafia, was willing to train and coach and be a sounding board to you before you even became a member of the Mafia. I mean, he just was willing to help you and give you tips to help you grow your business.
Yeah, I went over there, and to even further that, when he was doing ceramic coatings, he let me spend 2 days with him in his shop, teaching me how to do a ceramic coating on a car. I think technically before I even rent a ring, as if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
that's awesome. That's really cool.
And I think that's kind of
indicative,
but it's also, it is something I don't think people understand about both the IDA members and the Detail Mafia. I think both of those groups of people get a bad rap as being kind of standoffish. We've talked about this a lot on Memoirs about the difference between being cocky and confident. I'm not generally a very cocky person about a lot of stuff, but I'm definitely confident about several things. And if people come to me and, I have a small shop here in town that doesn't do anything commercial. I just do stuff for, like, I've replaced motors for Jody, and, I do stuff for myself, and I've always got 2 or 3 cars in there. But if somebody comes to me, I'm very confident in what I can do. I'm also very confident in what I can't do. And then there's that stuff in the middle that you go, I could probably tackle that, but I'm not 100% confident in what I'm doing. And I think that's the difference. Is somebody in the Mafia or in the idea will tell you what they can and can't do, right? If I can't put a ceramic coating on because I've never put on, whatever, Ceramic Pro or IGL or Rennie's Inspiration, if I've never done that one, they all have a different property to them. Right. And so somebody that knows that, a professional, is going to understand that about themselves. And I think that's what cuts, when you're talking about cutting the herd on detailers, it's somebody that, like yourself, that's been doing it for 20 years. You're probably pretty confident if I roll my car in there and you see the scratches on it, or it's been sitting under a tarp for 10 years and it's got some pretty deep cuts, you just, you lick your finger, put it on there and go, that ain't coming out.
Right.
Whereas somebody that is cocky would look at it and go, oh, I can make your car perfect. And you're like,
maybe not.
I don't think you can do that, because when there's primer showing through, you're not going to polish that out.
Right. I've noticed everybody brings something to the table. Like I said before, I am learning right now the business aspect of the business. Mm-hmm. But I have the experience as far as hands-on. So I'm able to help somebody who maybe is amazing at the business aspect, went to college for marketing or accounting, but maybe is new to the physical part of the detailing. So I've noticed in the forums and on the webinars, and when you talk to people at SEMA and the after parties, man, hey, how do you do this? And you feel weird, but then when somebody comes up to you, hey, I remember you had this question. I can help you with that answer, but I have a question on how do you do a single stage Toyota Tacoma that's 3 years old, and so that part, it goes back to, there's no dumb questions. There's always going to be somebody better than you, faster than you, or that's been doing it longer. It doesn't matter what industry you're in.
Yes.
That's not the point.
No, it's not. I think that's kind of, to me, it's half the battle in business, is understanding what you just said. That was a really important lesson that I learned early in my life. My father, who's a big mentor of mine, when I was a lot younger, I was very athletic.
Really?
Yeah, it's hard to tell now. But yeah, I was. I was extremely athletic.
He
Like
was.
I was on a national register for runners. I was in the Junior Olympics, and I did a lot of athletics. And my dad sat me down the weekend of the Junior Olympics, and I had made it all the way through the national ranks and was going to the Junior Olympics finals. And he sat me down, and it pissed me off so bad. He told me, he goes, "There's always going to be somebody faster. There will always be somebody better. And if you set a record this year, somebody's going to break it next year." And man, it pissed me off. I thought he was the biggest jerk on this planet. I'm like, now at the time, you got to understand, my head was about that big around because I was something, right? And I was like, do you know who you're talking to? And it really hit me hard the day after the race. And I kind of looked at it and I was like, you know what? He's exactly right, because the kid that's 15th this year, he's going to be first next year. And the kid that took second this year was 17th last year. And it's, everybody peaks at a different time. And it just depends on what industry or what you're doing, right? You see that in athletics all the time. You see it in industries. Somebody that's the top builder this year in any automotive build off is probably not going to be the same one that wins next year.
Right.
So, and I think it helps us as much as it hurts. You know, I know you were talking about a competitor of yours earlier. As much as that feels pressure, it does help you progress.
Yes.
Because you go, oh, that ain't going to happen. And so you step it up 2 notches and you go in, and like I can see right just looking at the back of you that you've got P&S storefront going on behind you, and you've got, you know, some other aspects of the business that's fantastic. I think one of the biggest lessons that I have taken away from Rennie, the Detail Mafia, IDA, the whole industry is, do you want a job or do you want a business? I
think a lot of detailers struggle with that exactly.
Anybody can have a job, but to have a business, it hit really hard one day when I was detailing a Harley with a toothbrush, and I'm in between the fins, and this is just for me to ride it. And my wife walked by and just nonchalantly, "Do you own it or does it own you?" And in the house she went.
Drop the mic.
Yeah, and I was like, and it wasn't preparing it for a show. It wasn't preparing it for anything. It was just, and I'm like, I am spending way too much time doing this for the result that I'm getting just to ride it every day.
Right.
So that kind of, I think that lesson's important in business, especially. It's what are your goals? How do you get there? And what's the next thing? And make sure that you're achieving the goals you want, but that it's not owning you.
Right. No, I agree 100%. And it's kind of interesting. I've noticed by talking to people, I run my business different, and a lot of people don't agree. I run my business to keep me living the lifestyle I want. I live a pretty simple lifestyle, pretty close debt-free. I'm not out to make as much money as possible, sell my business, retire a millionaire. I want to live my lifestyle where I can take 10 weeks off a year, where I don't have the stress of trying to get every customer, trying to find every way to make money. And a lot of people don't agree with that. Maybe when I'm 60, my business isn't worth $2 million like somebody else's, but I don't have the stress. And I see other people, other detail shops, anything they can do to make a dollar. There'll be the one thing that I always tell people is, because I have people ask me, well, how come you don't want to grow? Why aren't you doing this and that? I would rather be amazing and the best at 2 things, maybe 3 things, than be average at 12 different things.
Oh, yep.
Oh man, wisdom.
Yeah, I've heard that. And I think that's a big challenge for some people. We've onboarded some people on our software, and we've downloaded all their services, and my eyes just get huge. And I'm like, of these 75 services that you offer, which ones
do you
actually
really do?
Make money?
Right.
You know, and you run a report and you're like, you know, you haven't done 12 of those in 2 years. You just offload that. You know, I know there's a couple of detailers that outsource stuff, and people are amazed that they actually outsource. And I'm like, that is the smartest thing in the world. Why do you need to take on that new skill when there's somebody over here that does it excellent, and you can pay them and you can offer that and make a little money and go out and do it?
There's a couple guys in the group that make a lot of money by just basically subcontracting, having guys come to their shop and do other services so they can focus on the one or two things that they are absolutely amazing at. And it's, without saying I don't want to grow, I'm happy in the position that I'm at, that I can provide 100% satisfaction. I focus on quality instead of quantity. I will never make as much as the next guy down the road, but it allows me to do my lifestyle, and my goal is 5-star reviews and word of mouth. And so I always use that line of, I'd rather be good at amazing or the best at 2 things than be average at 12 things. And I just see that all over the United States with lots of businesses, not just detailing, but everybody's out to get the dollar and make as much money as possible and get the cars out, shove them on to the next $500. But, and I think it's because I spent so many years in my garage doing 1 car a day, 8 hours a day. It was, perfect, and I'm on, so
Yeah.
I do run my business a little different. I do it a little different.
So what would you recommend for that up and coming or that mid-level detailer for them to do to be successful in their business? I think you've kind of hit on it, but are there 1 or 2 things that you would recommend?
Customer satisfaction. If you have to lose money the first year, if you have to redo a customer's card 10 times for free, do it. Because 1 bad person can tear down 20 good reviews.
That's
Do it right. Go to Rennie's training first. Talk to people. I didn't have that option 20 years ago, just like most of the people in the group. There was no Rennie's training 20 years ago.
Yeah.
I don't think it was close, but the original Mafia people. But I had to learn. My very first car, other than the one I did in high school for the grocery guy, I was a green F350 4-door 97 Power Stroke. $65 is what I charged, and I didn't own a buffer. I ran it through the car wash first, took it to a place that I had to work. I soaked the carpets, scrubbed them, vacuumed them, put I think some McGuire's spray wax or something on it. Customer was pissed. It looked like crap. I mean, looking back, I'm sure it did. It looked like crap. They kept it. I had to redo it. The second day, he was unhappy. He must have had it done somewhere else or had a car professionally detailed somewhere else. A third day, he finally took it, and I lost. I didn't charge him. My point is don't just be like, well, it's the best I can do. Learn the processes right. Learn what the customer set expectations for the customers first. Don't say, oh, I can make your truck look new again. Don't.
Right.
Don't do it.
I love
It's
that.
just not, that's just not how it is. Customers have expectations, and you have to let them know. But to answer your question, I think customer service is the biggest thing. It's not social media. It's not having the best equipment. I've seen people do some amazing stuff with not so amazing products and machinery.
Yep.
That's great.
Yeah, and they know how to do it with that equipment. That's just how it works. I mean, we've only seen in the last several years some of these newer products that come out that make the efficiency and the speed to where you can get it to a certain level. I mean, 15, 20 years ago, to get to that level, it was an all-day process. And now with some of the products and some of the machinery, now it's hours.
Right. And it's safer for you.
Yeah.
Which is good.
Oh yeah. Non-toxic, safer for you, safer for the cars.
Right.
The key there is, test spots, and knowing what combinations work with certain cars. Certain combinations don't work with certain cars. If you got a really, really brittle paint, you're working on a Chevy Silverado, you're not using the same products that you're using on something that has extremely soft paint. I mean, there's cars out there that I swear that you could use the absolute best premium microfiber towel in the world, and it's going to leave little scratches. And you're like, what is going on? I have a Saab, and I swear if I breathe on that thing, I breathe on it's scratched. I'm like, it's just the way it is. It's so soft. And it is just the most delicate of pressure on that car at all to get that stuff to come out. But as soon as you wipe it off, you're like, and it's scratched again. Yeah. So I think that's part of that process of learning, is to know that each paint is different and each product is different on that particular paint. And that's why I think it is an advantage to have all these different companies out there that have products that are out there. So,
but on the other token, it's easy for myself, I mean, and I know it is to buy every product you see, because everybody's coming out with something cool. Oh, we got black wax or black polish, and then we have 300 different types and sizes of pads, and you've got Sonax, you've got the double black line, you've got McGuire's, you've got what's the other one in Germany? Sonax and McMinnville. I mean, you can buy $30,000 worth of products, you know, every time the delivery, it's like the Snap-on. Every time the Snap-on truck or the chemical truck comes in, they have a new product.
Oh yeah.
Then you buy it. Pretty soon you've got all this stuff that you don't need. Yeah. My recommendation for somebody that wants to start is pick up a dealership account. They're not a lot of money, but it gives you a variety of different cars, different conditions, and they don't have to look perfect, so you can get the repetitiveness in before you start dealing with, oh, I remember on a Subaru, you can't get water on the alternator because it sits on top, versus their first private party is a Subaru and they toast the alternator on top.
Yep. And they can also learn what it's like to get your butt kicked by a customer every single day and get down, just hammered on
price and quality.
Are you kidding? The guy down the street will do that for $40. So
yeah, no, anyway, that's awesome.
So let's talk about how people get a hold of you, social media, website, phone number, all that kind of stuff.
So my website is www.macautodetail.com. I'm on Facebook under McMinnville Auto Detail. Instagram, McMinnville Auto Detail. We're in McMinnville, Oregon, which is about an hour, depending on traffic, about an hour southeast of Portland. So we're kind of between the beach and the mountains. You know, you'll see me at all the events. You will see at SEMA, MTE. Yep. If you have any questions or anything I can help with, 503-437-4059. And yeah, it's been fun talking to you guys. I've never done one of these, so I'm sure after I hang up, there'll be about 300 other things I wanted to say. Or
no, and that's the thing, right?
We'll do like the next time.
Yeah, because we're like, all right, 30 minutes. I mean, you could easily go and a full hour on these things, and we have so much fun talking and learning people's journey and stuff. And you know, so thank you very much for taking the time out of your day to visit with us. We want to remind you that we will be at Mobile Tech Expo next week for Education Day and the entire 2 days. I speak at 9 o'clock, maniacal focus in 2020 on your business.
And I am in the afternoon, and I'm
2?
just straight up talking about how you can profit by using technology.
Yeah.
Both of them really valuable. And then we will be on site the rest of the weekend, Friday and Saturday. There's going to be a forum on Saturday. We're going to be at the one-day training in Melbourne on Sunday. We're all over the place. So if you don't see us, you're not looking.
That's right. So as always, thank you so much, Chris.
Thanks, Chris.
And those that are tuning in, thank you for joining us for another episode of RoadFS Mafia Memoirs. And we will not, well, we may check you next week. We're going to be live from Mobile Tech Expo. So you guys have a great day, and we will see you.
Thank you guys very much.
Thank you, brother. You have a fantastic day, man.